These are true confessions of an aspiring voice actor. So, what is it that you're listening to? Well, this podcast is really more of an audio diary of my quest to become a voice actor. While I'd like to tell you I'm doing this to keep you informed and entertained, these are true confessions, so I feel compelled to admit that the main reason I'm doing this is to practice using my voice, tuning my instrument, so to speak, and learning how to better use my technical setup. If you find enjoyment from listening, so much the better. It might also help me get my name out there. So, without further ado, I give you this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to my podcast. I thought before getting into my week-by-week audio diary, it might be a good idea to let you know a little bit about me, so you might better understand some of the mistakes I make, as well as some of the things that I do right. Now, I'm not a young man. We'll leave it at that. While I was in college, I spent a lot of time searching for what I wanted to do, and after several people told me I had a voice for radio, I started to pursue a degree in broadcasting. I really wish I had listened to the older and wiser heads that told me there wasn't really any money in radio. Not that I didn't enjoy my time in broadcasting, but I could have focused myself in areas that had more opportunities. I also wish I had listened to the advice about networking. If you learn one thing from anything that I tell you, I hope that it is the need to network. Go out, meet people in the industry you want to pursue, and treat them well. Every business
It took me
is about
longer to
people.
graduate
I don't care
than
what
it should
anybody
have.
tells you.
I lacked a
Our
certain
decision-making
degree of
process
focus
is
and
so
ended up
much
going
more
into the
emotional
National
than
Guard
any of
for a
us
bit to
like to
straighten
think.
myself out.
Anyway, I'm getting
But I did
sidetracked.
finish my degree.
I
when
had a
got
passion
back
for audio
and ended up
and learned
working as a
lot about
production
audio
assistant
editing
at a local
school.
TV station.
I also had some
Here's a
classes in
surprise.
performance.
They put me
and
in
was
charge
the
of
DJ
the
for our
audio on the
school's
morning and noon
for a
show.
couple of semesters.
I also
If
got
you
to do
want
some
to know if
voiceover
you
work
have any
for some
listeners,
ads there at
tell
the
an
station
inappropriate
and
joke.
learned a bit more about
You'll get a
editing.
really good
It was a
idea of
great
how many people
experience,
are
but I
actually
longed to
listening
be
you.
someone referred to
You'll
as
also get
talent
suspended from your
rather
own
than
show
support
for
staff.
I won't
I
share
spent
with
some
you the
time
joke.
working with the
Just
news crew
remember
to make
kids,
demo
there's some
tapes
topics
and sent
that
them
you should
out
simply
all over
avoid.
the place.
Sadly, I only received one interview, and that was thanks to the kind help of someone in our newsroom reaching out to her former employer. See what I mean about networking? Unfortunately, they chose another candidate, and no one else responded to the tapes I sent out. Now, earlier statements about more lucrative opportunities might have you believe that I am a greedy man and looking to get rich. This is not the case. I just need enough to live comfortably. And the $7.60 an hour I was making at the television station simply was not allowing for that. I should also note that it was the number one station in a medium-sized market, so it's not like I was working for a budget-strapped organization. This is simply the reality of broadcasting. The money isn't advertising, so sales is where the big bucks are at. So I had to step away from the world of broadcasting, as I was neither getting where I wanted to be, nor was I making enough money to be truly comfortable. I won't bore you with the career choices I've made since then. They really don't have much to do with what I'm attempting to do now, outside of providing that degree of comfort that is allowing me to pursue my passion. What I will touch upon is that since I left the television station, I did try and keep my hand in from time to time. I have had 2 internet radio shows. The first was for POJ Radio, which was a twice weekly 3-hour show that I did for an audience composed of players of a game called City of Heroes. Sorry, I can't seem to recall the name of the show, but it was primarily music driven, with my talk revolving around points of interest in the game. My second show was for KJSR.net and was called The Frog's Playable Demo. I did reviews of video game demos, talked about video game news, and at the high point of my show, I did an interview with Jack Emmert, the lead designer for City of Heroes from Gen Con, after he had left the game and was at that point working on Neverwinter Nights. That was a good run. I did the show for 1.5 to 2 years and had a good time doing it, but my personal life ended up getting in the way, and I no longer had the time to devote to writing and producing the show on a weekly basis. So fast forward a couple years, and some friends of mine and I decided that we wanted to run the karaoke for a convention we attend every year. Me being the audiophile that I am, I really didn't like the setup that other groups were using, and decided to see what we could do to make it better. We invested in a small karaoke setup and have been gradually improving the equipment, but it really reignited my passion for audio. Now we are doing 2 conventions a year and getting requests to do other events, So I'm excited about that, but there's more that I want to do. On top of all the schooling and personal experience I have that are filling me with this desire, I also have a rather odd interest in old time radio shows. I like anime as well, which is my first thought when considering voice acting. But if you have never listened to any of the classic old time radio shows, I recommend you take some time to do so. Some are simply extraordinary. Some that I might suggest you looking up, and by the way, most of these are public domain now, so you can download them without fear of legal action. Some of them would be The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, starring Gerald Moore. Some episodes of the show Suspense were very well done, and Broadway is My Beat. There are tons more out there, of course, but these stand out in my mind, especially Gerald Moore. He absolutely owns that character in a way that I hope to someday own a character. So I dream of getting into voice acting, but I could never really figure out the best way to do it. I asked questions at conventions, did light research, and wondered if I had the talent to really do it. I finally decided that I'd never find out the answer to that last question unless I just got out there and tried it. So that's where I'm at now. I'm absorbing the lessons that each audition gives me, and I will continue to not only work on my presentation, but my technical skills and my setup. Hopefully, over time, you'll notice the level of polish improve. So, if you're still interested in hearing what I have to say, check back here every week and download my podcast. You can also check out my Facebook page for the podcast and offer your thoughts and opinions, or ask questions. Anything that I directly refer to in these podcasts, I'm going to place links on the Facebook page. Now, you may have noticed that I didn't mention those conventions by name. There's a really good reason for that. I'm not sure if they would appreciate me mentioning them in my podcast. So if I'm not sure if somebody wants me to mention them, I'm probably going to keep my mouth shut. And that includes all of my auditions, anything that I have done for other people, such as maybe voiceover work. I am only going to refer to them or put a link to them if they're okay with that. So keep that in mind. Some things I just got to keep private. Thanks for listening, and I hope you will keep on downloading the podcast. Have a great one. You have been listening to True Confessions of an Aspiring Voice Actor by Chris Cottrell. This podcast is the property of Digital Eden Entertainment and is meant for the private enjoyment of our audience. Thank you for listening, and please return next week.